All right, so elimination method is a method of solving systems of equations that involves adding or subtracting. You have to look at the signs. It'll tell you what to do. The equations to eliminate a variable. So just like in substitution, we're going to go from 2 equations down to 1. So here are our steps. So we're going to add or subtract the equations to eliminate. Thus the name elimination. One of the variables. It might be an x, it might be a y. It's not going to be just the regular numbers. And I'm going to put a little star here. You need to have, this is what we need to eliminate. We need a positive and a negative of the same number and letter to eliminate. Okay, and I'm going to show you what that looks like. So once we've eliminated a variable, then we're going to solve that remaining equation for that leftover variable. So if we eliminate the x's, we'll solve for y. If we eliminate the y's, we'll solve for x's. And then just like substitution, now we have one of the numbers for the letter. So we're going to substitute, or we're going to replace the solution from step 2 into either it has to be an original equation, and we're going to solve for the other one. Okay? So if we solve for y at the beginning, now we're going to solve for x, or vice versa. So let's implement those. So again, just as a reminder, we are going to be looking vertically. So I'm going to draw my lines and make my columns. We are looking vertically up and down. What's happening to x's, what's happening to the y's, what's happening to the regular numbers. So what do you notice about the x's when we do this? They do, they cancel. We have 2x minus 2x, those eliminate or they cancel. And again, that's where that little star came from. We have a positive and a negative of the same number and the same letter. Okay, and that's what we want. So then we can just put all the rest of it together. So 3y and 5y is 8y, very nice. And 11 and 13 is 24. So now it's a 6th grade equation. How do we solve this? We divide by 8, y equals 3. So now that we know what y is, we have to go back to an original equation. Do you like the first one or do you like the second one? First one. It doesn't actually matter. And we know what y is, so when I rewrite this, I have 2x plus 3, but I'm not going to write 3y. What am I going to replace y with? 3 equals 11. Now this is an 8th grade equation. We can distribute. 3 times 3 is 9. Undo the add, subtract. So we're going to minus 9. 2x equals 2. And undo the multiply, divide. X equals 1. So now we can write our solution. Remember, a solution to a system is an x, y coordinate. So my x is 1 and my y is 3. So that's going to be where the lines intersect if we changed them all to y equals. Or if we plugged 1 and 3 into both of our equations for those respective letters, we should get true in our yellow calculator. Does anyone need to see the checking, or we're okay with that? All right, good. All right, let's look at another one. This one, it really wants us to eliminate, but we're going to have to do something. So here's my columns. I have 4x's and 5x's. Can I put those together? I could. What about my 3y and 3y? That would be 6y. And then I have 2 minus 2 is 0. Now, a lot of people are looking at this question and they're like, we can eliminate the 2's. Okay, well, we don't want to do that. So don't do that. The reason we don't want to do that is we want to eliminate a variable so we can solve for the value. So remember that little star that we wrote? We wrote a star, we said positive, and we need a positive and a negative of the same number and the same letter. Well, we don't have that here. But what we do have is we have the same number and the same letter. They're just both the same sign. So we need one of them to be negative. So something that we learned when we were doing standard form is that we can multiply one of these equations by a -1. So if you think back to standard form up here, right, we said A had to be positive, and if A was negative, we didn't change the numbers. We multiplied by a -1 just to change the sign. We don't want to change the number. We just want to change the sign. So we're going to have to multiply either the top or the bottom by a -1. Which would you like to do? It doesn't actually matter. The bottom? Okay. So if we multiply this bottom, we're going to need to rewrite. Don't try to squish all of this together because then you can't see what you're doing. So we're going to rewrite. And you have plenty of room on your paper. 4x plus 3y equals 2. But now when we rewrite, we have to distribute this -1. -1 times 5x is a -5x. Negative y times 3y is a -3y. And -1 times a -2 is a +2. So now, when we look at our columns, our y's are going to eliminate. So now we can put our x's together. We have 4x minus 5x is a -1x, and 2 is 4. Now it's a 6th grade equation. So we're going to divide by a -1. Remember, you don't change the sign when you divide. A positive divided by a negative is a negative. So now we have to find the value of y. I'm going to move over this way a little bit because I've run out of space. And we're going to pick one. If we pick that first one for parentheses, but instead of x, I'm going to put my -4 plus 3y equals 2. And again, this is just an 8th grade problem. 4 times -4 is -16. Undo. Then we're going to undo the add subtract by adding. 3y equals 18. Undo the multiply divide. And y is 6. So our solution for this, our xy that works all of the time for both of these, is -4, +6. So on this one, they're not lined up. So we're going to have to do a little bit of maneuvering. This first one, I'm going to leave it alone. It's 8x minus 4y equals -4. That's, if you recall, that's called standard form. And now, how do I make that bottom one line up? What do I need to do? I do, very nice. I need to minus my 3x. So my x and my y are on the same side. So when I rewrite it over here, minus 3x plus 4y equals 14. And now we do have, on our y's, we have same number, same letter. One is positive, one is negative. So that is going to eliminate. And now we can just start putting everything else together. 5x minus 3x, or I'm sorry, 8x minus 3x equals 5x. And a -4 and a positive 14 is a positive 10. So to get x by itself, now I'm just going to undo my multiply divide. And I get x equals 2. And now we just need to find out what y is. So we need to plug into one of the originals. It doesn't matter which one. Do you want to use the first one or the second one? The first. All right, let's use this first one. And I'm going to come over here and I'm going to say 8. But I'm not going to put x. What am I going to put in place of x? 2. Very nice. Minus 4y equals negative 4. Don't forget your negative. Now we can just multiply, solve it like we're used to, undo the add, subtract. Be very careful right here. This is not a negative 12, okay? This is a negative 4 and a negative 16. That's actually a negative 20. And when you bring down this 4y, make sure you bring that negative with it so it doesn't mess up your problem. So now we need to just do our division. Negative 4y, so we're going to divide by a negative 4. Remember, we don't change the sign when we divide. Negative divided by a negative is a positive. So what's our solution? 2, 5 or 5, 2? 2, 5x, and then y always when we write our solution. Do we need to do the other examples, do you think? We're feeling pretty good. All right. The completed other 3 examples are in a PDF on the calendar.